The knowledge of my journey to Ireland was all but unknown to me 2 months before we departed. A fellow church member approached me and asked me if I would like to join her on a missions trip to Ireland. She explained that they planned to reach out to the children there and teach them the way of Jesus through street-performed puppet shows, accompanied by a Christian band. I jumped on it immediately, not prepared for the spiritual journey that was about to take place. You don't set out on a journey like this and think that it would be smooth sailing. God sent us out to do His work and minister to all types of lifestyle, testing us on our faith and strength to carry on. At 4 a.m., we arrived in Dublin and drove 3 more hours out into the countryside. In the darkness, what can't be seen are the rolling hills, grazing cattle, and quaint little houses to which are iconic to Ireland. Our resting place for a few days was the great house named Merlo, set right in the middle of a nature reserve. The Merlo house has been the resting spot for missionaries for many years, and there is a reason why. Surrounded by the nature that God created, it is the perfect setting to reflect on yourself and your relationship with God. The aging mansion stood proud in the clearing, but was not overpowering. It was perfect. One day we took a walk down a path that led to the Irish Sea. There, with the beautiful landscape around us, we strengthened our connection with God before setting out on the actual journey ahead of us. We each prepared our testimonies and shared them with each other. These testimonies would be shared with the people we reached out to during our performances. We kept them simple, not knowing who we would face on the street. Believers, non-believers, anyone. After 3 days of preparation, we set out to Dublin. Dublin, the most recognized city in Ireland. It only seemed right for our journey to start there. The cobblestone streets were full of tourists, street performers, and native people. The city was alive and well. At the corner of a street, we set up our stage and prepared our puppets. People looked on in interest. Some even stopped and asked who we were. Curiosity is what always pulls them in, but it is their choice whether to stick around for the show. Our first show was at night, and it was our first encounter with a devoted atheist. Ireland is known for its pubs, and there are members among its population who don't believe in God. About halfway through our show, just as one of my teammates was starting her testimony, a drunk pedestrian walks up and starts yelling, "You don't know what you're talking about. There's no such thing as God." He comes closer, well past the personal space boundaries, reeking of beer and pipe tobacco. He takes the chalkboard that was used to draw pictures for the children and throws it to the side, all while still yelling, "You know nothing." He storms off, probably to the next closest pub. The silence from the crowd was heavy, and the people stood there dumbstruck. But we picked right up where we left off, ignoring the castaway chalkboard. I stood there shaking, with the after effects of the taunt flowing through me, praying to God to give me strength and keep composure. We ended our journey in Tralee, but instead of performing on the side of a street, this time we were part of a big celebration called the Rose of Tralee International Festival. Stands lined the streets full of vendors and performers, all hoping someone will stop by. As one of the many performers, we had a section of the festival all to ourselves. With the biggest crowd we have ever had before us, we decided to give it our all. During the festival, we encountered a new population that was unfamiliar to us, the Irish travelers. With only a population of 25,000, the Irish traveler is a traditionally itinerant person of ethnic Irish origin who maintains a set of traditions. A vast majority are Roman Catholic, with special attention paid to healing, and all have grown up outside the education system. Because they are travelers, the rest of the Irish population doesn't really accept their presence, so they are pretty much on their own. During our performance, we saw that the majority of our audience were these travelers and all of their children. They were all very accepting of our form of evangelism. They never spoke out or spoke against. If they had negative thoughts, they kept it to themselves. This was a dramatic change from what we saw in Dublin. The children were fascinated by the puppets. Being considered the outcast of a society makes you have a different perspective on life. Any acceptance from anyone is what they see. So when we performed, they all gathered and shared in our preaching. What a lot of people on the street don't know is that we aren't forcing them to stop and believe what we believe. The only power we have as missionaries is to share our stories, and they have the choice to listen or not. Everybody has different spiritual perspectives. Whether you don't believe in God at all, or you just have different views on Christianity, it all depends on whether you're willing to listen or not. Being in a foreign country opens your mind to new experiences, and even opens it to new views, whether it is spiritual or just understanding someone's lifestyle.